Welcome back to the Book Summary Podcast. You know, today we're doing a deep dive into like a classic, right? It's Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Ah, yeah.
You've probably heard of it. I mean,
Absolutely.
it sold millions and millions of copies.
It's incredible.
Since it came out way back in 1937 and still going strong today.
It's amazing.
They even updated it for us, modern folks.
Yeah, they did.
They had to, right?
Why? Why is this book still so relevant? I mean, what is it?
Well, I think one of the main reasons is because it's all about these like timeless principles of human interaction.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just theory,
Yeah.
Carnegie was a researcher.
Oh, okay.
He dug into biographies of Julius Caesar,
Wow.
Thomas Edison, all these big figures.
Really?
Yeah, looking for patterns in how successful people build relationships and get things done.
That's so fascinating. It's like he figured out the cheat code to being a human.
Kinda, yeah. And then he shared it with us.
Yeah, he put it all in a book for us to learn from and benefit from.
That's very generous.
Absolutely, yeah. And, his core message is that anyone can learn to be more, likable and influential and successful.
Oh, okay, cool. So let's jump into the content of the book.
Okay.
Get into the good stuff.
Right.
Grab your notebooks. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. All that good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's start with one of the most fundamental principles. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a tough one, right?
That is because it's so easy to fall into, isn't it?
Oh,
Like you're annoyed or frustrated and just
You gotta let it out.
let it out, But Carnegie's saying no. That's just going to make things worse.
Really?
It's like trying to, nail jelly to a wall. It's messy.
Huh? Okay.
It's ineffective and ultimately pointless.
Okay. So you're saying we shouldn't criticize them?
Well, not exactly. It's more about understanding why it's usually so ineffective.
Interesting.
Think about it. When you criticize someone, what happens?
Well, they usually get defensive.
Exactly. And that makes them less likely to change.
Okay.
It's like you're pushing them further away from what you want.
So it's like counterproductive.
Yeah. He uses this example, the story of Two Gun Crowley, a notorious gangster who, even on death row, he thought he was a good guy.
Wow. Talk about not seeing your own faults.
Yeah. It's a great illustration of how we often have blind spots when it comes to ourselves.
Okay. So if we can't criticize people, then how do we address problems? How do we encourage them to change?
Okay, so here's what Carnegie suggests instead.
Okay.
He tells this story about Abraham Lincoln who, after the Battle of Gettysburg, he was furious with General Meade.
Oh, really?
He was ready to write this scathing letter criticizing every decision Meade made.
Oh, wow.
But you know what? He didn't send it.
Okay.
He realized it wouldn't accomplish anything positive.
It's amazing how even someone as powerful as Lincoln could see that criticism wasn't always the answer.
Yeah. He chose understanding and restraint instead.
And their relationship probably survived because of it.
Probably, yeah. Another example, Herbert Hoover.
Oh, yeah. What about him?
Remember when a mechanic accidentally damaged his plane?
Oh, yeah.
Instead of getting angry and scolding the guy, he gave him another chance?
Wow. What a great example of forgiveness and trust.
Yeah.
So we've talked about not criticizing.
Right.
What's the next step?
The next principle is all about, well, it's kind of the opposite of criticism. It's about giving honest and sincere appreciation.
I like that already.
Yeah, don't we all love to feel appreciated?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Carnegie believed this was one of the deepest urges in human nature.
Like a fundamental need.
Yeah, to feel valued, to feel seen.
That makes sense.
He tells this story about Stevie Wonder, who said that a teacher's appreciation for his musical abilities really changed his life.
Oh, wow.
And imagine, this is Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Already incredibly talented.
Yeah.
But even he needed that encouragement, that validation.
Like that appreciation helped him blossom.
Exactly.
I've been trying to be more mindful about expressing appreciation to people.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much of a difference it makes. Like just a simple thank you or a genuine compliment can completely turn someone's day around.
Yeah.
It's like planting seeds of positivity.
Yep. Love that analogy.
It can really create like a ripple effect.
Absolutely.
So we've covered avoiding criticism and giving appreciation.
Right.
What's the next key principle in winning friends and influencing people?
Okay, this one is about understanding what motivates people.
Oh, interesting.
He calls it arousing in the other person an eager want.
Ooh. That sounds kind of manipulative, doesn't it?
It's not about manipulation at all.
Okay.
It's about understanding what drives people, what they desire, and then framing your requests in a way that aligns with those desires.
Ah, okay, I see. So it's not about tricking them. It's about finding common ground.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And, he uses this really brilliant analogy to illustrate the point. He says, trying to influence people with something they don't want is like trying to catch a fish with strawberries.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like, we love strawberries,
Right.
but fish, they're not so into it.
Exactly. So you have to figure out what the worms are, what really motivates the people you want to influence.
I see. It's about figuring out their needs and goals and then presenting your ideas in a way that resonates with them.
Exactly.
That's really smart.
It's all about appealing to what they want.
Okay. This reminds me of, like, that time I was trying to convince a friend to try this new restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just saying, hey, let's go to this place, I, like, focused on all the things I knew she loved, like the cozy atmosphere, the live music, the delicious vegetarian options.
So you tailored your pitch to her interests.
Exactly. And you know what? It worked.
Of course it did. It's not about forcing your agenda. It's about finding common ground.
Creating a win-win.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered those foundational principles, like the basics of how to handle people, right?
Yeah.
Now let's move into the fun part.
All right.
This is where we get into, like, the actual, tips and tricks for making people like you.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss this.
This section's packed with stories and actionable advice.
Oh, can't wait.
Okay, so ready for those practical tips on making people like you?
Yeah, let's hear them.
Carnegie, he lays out 6 key principles, all about, like, cultivating genuine connections.
Okay. Because, we all want to be liked, right?
Right, exactly. And his first principle is all about being genuinely interested in other people.
Okay, so you're saying it has to be real. Like, you can't fake it.
Yeah, exactly. People can, like, totally sniff out fake interest,
Yeah, like when someone's just waiting for their turn to talk and not really listening.
Oh, yeah, totally. And it's not a good feeling.
No, not at all.
Carnegie, he uses the example of Howard Thurston. He was like this famous magician.
Okay.
And Thurston, he believed his success was because of his, like, genuine interest in people, not just his tricks.
Oh, interesting. So it was like a human connection?
Exactly. It was more than just, the spectacle.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's this other story he tells about this guy who got a huge fuel order.
Okay. How do you do that?
Well, not by, like, hard selling or anything.
Not
He
hard.
just, like, genuinely listened to the customer's problems, showed some empathy.
Wow. So he connected on, like, a human level first.
Exactly. And it worked.
I bet that customer felt really heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so next principle.
Okay.
This one's, like, super simple but so important. Smile.
Ah, I like this one already.
Right. Everyone loves a good smile.
Who doesn't?
And Carnegie, he believed a sincere smile makes people feel, like, liked and happy. He even tells the story about, a baby smile transforming, like, a whole waiting room, like, from tense to pleasant, just like that.
Yeah.
The power of a smile.
It really is contagious, right? Like, you smile at someone and they just, like, can't help but smile back.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, ready for the next one?
Yep.
All right. So this one, I think we've all struggled with this.
Okay.
Remembering and using people's names.
Ugh, yes. I am so bad at that. Like, it's so embarrassing.
Right. It's like the worst feeling. But Carnegie, he says, remembering and using someone's name, it's like, making them feel valued, respected.
Oh, okay.
And he highlights this guy, Jim Farley, a politician, and this guy was amazing at remembering names.
Really?
Yeah, like thousands of names.
Wow.
And it helped him so much in his career.
So it's not just a social thing. It's, like, actually strategic.
Oh, totally. And there's this great story in the book about this guy who turned, like, this scowling cafeteria worker into, like, a friendly one just by using her name, making her feel seen.
That's awesome.
Right.
It's such a simple thing, but it makes people feel, like, acknowledged, right?
Totally, totally. And it kind of ties into the next principle, which is all about being a good listener,
Okay.
encouraging people to, like, talk about themselves.
Oh, so it's like more than just remembering names. It's about really engaging with what they're saying.
Exactly, like really listening.
Yeah.
Carnegie believed that people, they just, like, crave good listeners.
Yeah.
Think about it. When you need to talk about something, like something important,
Yeah.
who do you go to?
Oh, definitely someone who's going to, like, listen and make me feel understood.
Right. And by being that person for others, you naturally attract people to you.
Makes sense.
Okay, so next one.
Next one.
He talks about talking in terms of the other person's interests.
Oh.
So, finding common ground, engaging with their passions.
So kind of like what we were talking about before with the worms.
Yeah, exactly. You got to know what they care about.
Got it.
And he shares this story about Edward Chalif, this guy who was trying to get funding for a Boy Scout trip.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard this one.
And the guy he needed to talk to, he was like obsessed with this framed $1 million check he had.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of launching into his pitch right away, Chalif, he started talking about the check.
Ah, smart.
And the guy, he loved it. And guess what? He funded the whole trip.
Wow, so he found the worm.
Exactly. He appealed to the guy's interests, created that connection.
That's awesome.
All right. And last but not least, Carnegie says to make the other person feel important.
Okay, that makes sense. But, like, sincerely, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. Not
Yeah,
fake.
yeah.
It's about finding something you genuinely admire and expressing it authentically.
I like that.
And, there's this story about George Eastman, the guy who started Kodak.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And he awarded this big contract to a salesperson just because the guy admired his office woodwork.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't flattery. It was genuine appreciation.
That's amazing.
Right. And it totally worked.
So it's like all these principles are really about connecting with people on a deeper level, right?
Absolutely. It's about being authentic, being empathetic.
Yeah, and actually caring about what they care about.
Exactly.
This is great. I'm loving these tips. Don't forget to hit that like button if you're enjoying this too.
All right. Ready to move on to the next part?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so we're back and ready to jump into this next section of how to win friends and influence people. This one's called How to Win People to Your Way of Thinking.
Yeah, sounds pretty powerful, right?
Oh, yeah. Very direct.
But, it's not about, like, manipulation or anything like that. It's more about persuasion, but, persuasion based on respect and empathy.
Got it. So how do we actually do that? What's the first principle?
Okay, well, this one might surprise you. Carnegie says, straight up, you can't win an argument.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
But what if you're right? Like, shouldn't you try to prove your point?
Sure, we all want to be right.
Yeah.
But Carnegie, he says, even if you win the argument, you might lose something way more important.
Oh, okay. What's that?
The relationship.
Ah, that makes sense. I've definitely, won arguments and then felt, worse afterward.
Yeah, it's like a hollow victory, right?
Totally.
He actually tells this funny story about himself getting into this heated debate about a Shakespeare quote at, a fancy dinner party in London.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he was technically right, but the whole thing just left everyone feeling awkward and kind of upset.
So you learned that being right wasn't worth ruining the mood.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually leads right into his next principle.
Okay, which is?
If you're wrong, admit it.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I know, right? Especially if you have, a big ego. But honestly, it can be so disarming. When you admit your mistakes, you show humility, you're willing to learn, and people are actually more likely to listen to you.
Okay, interesting.
Remember that example we talked about earlier with Catherine Allred?
Oh, yeah, the one with the pay system.
Yeah. At first, she was trying to, prove everyone wrong, and it backfired. But when she came back and presented her ideas without attacking the old system, everyone was on board.
So it's about finding solutions, not placing blame.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're not arguing, we're admitting our mistakes. What's next?
This one's simple but important. Begin in a friendly way.
Oh, yeah, setting the tone. Right?
Yeah. And I think it's especially important when things are, already tense.
Totally. If you come in all aggressive, it's just going to escalate things.
Exactly. But even in tough situations, a friendly approach can make a huge difference. Remember that story about John D. Rockefeller Jr.?
Oh, the one with the labor strike?
Yeah. He managed to calm everyone down and find a solution by being respectful and emphasizing shared interests.
So it's even if you disagree, you can still be kind.
Exactly. Okay, ready for the next one?
Yeah, hit me with it.
This one's a little bit sneaky. Carnegie says, to get the other person saying yes, yes immediately.
Wait, what? How do you do that?
Okay, so it's not about trickery. It's about finding common ground, points of agreement, and building from there.
Oh, okay. So leading them to your conclusion.
Yeah, but subtly. It's more about guiding them than forcing them.
I like that.
And it's actually based on this old technique called the Socratic method, where you ask a series of questions that lead people to your conclusion by starting with things they already agree with.
Ooh, smart.
Okay, next principle. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking.
Oh, I like this one.
Right. It's about listening. Really listening and recognizing that people are more likely to buy into ideas that they feel they've had a hand in creating.
Ah, that makes total sense. If you feel like you've been heard, you're more invested in the outcome, right?
Exactly. Carnegie even tells this story about a salesman who lost his voice and ended up getting a huge order just by listening to the client talk for hours.
Wow. So sometimes silence is golden.
It really is.
Okay, what else?
All right, this one's crucial. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view.
That's all about empathy, right?
Yeah, putting yourself in their shoes, trying to understand their perspective, even if you don't agree.
I get it.
He tells the story about, these kids building a fire in a park. And instead of just yelling at them, he talked to them, understood why they were doing it, and found a way to redirect their energy.
It's a good example of finding a win-win, right?
Totally. Okay, and building on that idea, empathy, Carnegie also says to be sympathetic to the other person's ideas and desires.
Well, so it's not just about understanding, it's about acknowledging and validating their feelings.
Exactly. And he shares this personal story about, getting all these angry letters after he made a mistake on a broadcast.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but instead of firing back, he responded with sympathy, and it totally disarmed some of his critics.
Wow, that's powerful.
Okay, next up.
Yeah, let's go.
Appeal to the nobler motives.
Okay, I like that. What does he mean by that?
It's about assuming good intentions, believing that people generally want to do the right thing,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and appealing to those higher ideals like fairness, honesty, justice.
Got it.
He tells a story about a landlord who convinced his tenant to stay by appealing to his sense of fairness instead of threatening him.
So it's about reminding people of their better nature.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's next?
This one's about presentation. Dramatize your ideas.
Ooh, go creative.
Yeah, it's about using stories, vivid language, maybe even props or demonstrations to really bring your ideas to life.
I like that.
Remember that example we talked about earlier with the salesman using pennies to show the grocer how much money he was losing?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. It made it real. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, last one.
Last but not least, throw down a challenge.
Oh, interesting. This one sounds like competitive.
It is. It's about tapping into people's desire to excel, to prove themselves.
Wow.
He tells the story about Charles Schwab, the steel tycoon.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to motivate his mill manager, so he challenged him to increase production, not with a bonus, but with the opportunity to be the best.
So it's about appealing to their inner drive, their ambition.
Exactly.
Wow, these 12 principles, they're incredible.
I know, right? So much wisdom.
And they all, work together, don't they?
Yeah, they build on each other to create this, framework for influencing people, but in a positive way.
Right. It's not about being manipulative or controlling. It's about building genuine relationships.
Absolutely.
This has been such a great deep dive into how to win friends and influence people. I'm definitely going to be rereading this book and putting these principles into practice in my own life.
Me too.
It's amazing how relevant it still is.
Timeless wisdom, right?
Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this deep dive. And, be sure to check out the book yourself to get all of Carnegie's insights.
Yeah, definitely worth a read.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and, keep winning friends and influencing people.